Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar this morning. We're just going to give it a couple of minutes just for people to join.
Yeah, see that attendee list filling up in the background there, Mark.
Lovely to
All
see.
good?
Always
Yep.
good to see.
Yeah. Actually got sunshine in Manchester for once. It's all good.
Sunny here as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Right, I think we'll give it another minute or so, and then we'll start. The webinar is being recorded, and anyone who registered to attend will receive that recording. And I think you're going to send out the slide deck as well, Ian. Is that right?
I am indeed. So everybody who's registered to attend, whether they're here or not, will get the recording link sent out in a couple of hours. I've just let a couple more people in here, Mark. So I think we'll start proceedings.
Yeah, so thank you for joining, everyone. Good morning. So welcome to our webinar for October 2024, which is all about employee experience and shaping the future of work. Well, I was going to flip to the next slide, Ian.
So agenda for today, obviously intro, bit of format, and what do we mean by employee experience? So we'll highlight exactly what that's all about. Some interesting statistics. We love a stat here at Igloo.
We do.
So we'll be running through a few of them, which are pretty eye-opening, I'm not going to lie. And we'll move on to how we can improve the employee experience. So how exactly do we do it? And we'll talk about that, and we'll show you a few demos as well. There'll be a Q&A at the end, and then we'll talk about the next steps to getting an employee experience solution in place. So yeah.
Just on the Q&A, we do have a slot reserved at the end, but if anyone has any questions, just feel free to pop them into the chat. We will answer any questions at the end, but Ian will be monitoring. If there's anything burning, then we will pick it up, but there is an allocated slot towards the end of the webinar. So by way of introduction, I'm Mark Stamper. I am Chief Digital Transformation Officer at Igloo. I head up the solutions team, so I'm responsible for all of the solutions that we deliver to our customers across the Microsoft 365 stack. So be that in SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, the Power Platform, Power BI. And I have a particular focus on employee experience, user experience, and making the solutions work for you, allowing you to sweat the assets to really make the most of the investment that you've made within Microsoft 365. So that's me, Ian.
Your sounds way better than mine, Mark. I'm Chief Marketing Officer here at Igloo. I'm in charge of all things brand, as you can imagine, but also kind of all the sales enablement. So focusing on the products that we create and sell, how to kind of bring those to market in the best possible way, and obviously all the daily activity that you'll see on the likes of social media, LinkedIn primarily. I kind of oversee all of that, but yeah, really strong focus on our brand Igloo, which is now a full year old, which is great. Just at the start of October, we're a year in on Igloo, which is a real milestone for us. So
yeah, and you know, just to say as well, Ian, you know, when you mentioned branding, all of the these lovely backgrounds, everything that we've got in the PowerPoint, it's all down to you.
Yeah.
Right. On to the next slide. Ian.
Yeah. So yeah, what do we mean by employee experience? So company culture. A positive culture. I mean that fosters. So there's a few things: a sense of belonging, purpose, which therefore makes your employees feel valued and motivated. And when those employees are happy and engaged, they're more likely to be productive, innovative, and committed to your company goals. And that obviously in turn leads to higher retention rates, better teamwork, more positive overall work environment. And ultimately, the culture that you cultivate can significantly impact your customer, your company's success and growth. So, pretty important. Work environment. So, yeah, you need to consider how your environment reflects the needs of what in this day and age is a very diverse workforce. This can include your actual physical workspace, remote work options. That's the day and age we live in, and overall comfort. And a well-designed physical workspace can obviously accommodate various working styles, areas for collaboration, as well as quiet zones for focus work. Offering remote work obviously gives you the option to cater for employees who may have different personal circumstances, preferences, promoting obviously a better work-life balance. Overall comfort, ergonomic furniture. We were just talking about standing desk mats, weren't we, Mark, at the start of this call? So yeah, yeah, very interesting. A pleasant office atmosphere, can all enhance that employee well-being and productivity. And then tools and resources. This means providing really up-to-date technology, software, and equipment that meets the demands of their roles. You've got to offer comprehensive training, development programs, and that can help employees stay current with industry trends and obviously enhance their own skills, which is a great thing. It's also really important to have a responsive IT support team to address obviously any technical issues promptly, whether that's internal or an MSP like ourselves. And obviously by investing in those areas, you really empower your employees to work efficiently and confidently, which ultimately contributes in the overall success of your business.
Yeah, and I mean it's the tools and resources. When we talk about work environment, I mean we're going to focus primarily here on technology, but it's very much an extension of that kind of physical environment. It's the environment in which you work day to day, whether that's within a physical office somewhere in the city that you commute to. It is kind of part of that overall experience. It's that place where you're doing that day-to-day work. So whether you're remote, whether you're in the office, it's that environment in which, let's face it, we all spend 8-9 hours a day at work. The environment in which you work, be that a physical environment, be that a system or a platform that you use to get your daily job done, is absolutely critical. And that's kind of what we're going to focus on today.
I'm due a statistic, Mark. I think.
Yeah, we've got some. we love a statistic and we love a chart.
Yeah. Right. 49%. So that's half of your employees. They feel that the workplace isn't meeting the expectations set during the recruitment. It's
That's quite staggering. I mean that's half.
Yeah.
Right? Half saying they said we were going to have this, we were going to have training, we were going to have an easy to use system, whatever that was. Half of the people saying, yeah, they're not delivering on that. That's quite a staggering stat.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that gap that obviously leads to disengagement, low morale, high turnover.
Yeah.
So you've got to ensure that you deliver on your promises, and that'll help maintain trust and satisfaction of your workforce. Organizations with engaged employees experience 59% less turnover. Yeah, again, pretty staggering statistic. This obviously highlights a very important point in that employee engagement significantly boosts staff retention. Reducing the number of people who leave your company longer term. Yeah, pretty major.
And I mean, having people, I mean, people always leave organizations, right? But when people leave and they have to be replaced, that's a very expensive business in terms of perhaps hiring a recruitment consultant, onboarding someone, the time it takes for them to become productive. That is actually a massive cost. So if you can, reduce your turnover, you're actually saving money.
Yeah, that leads nicely into the next one, really. I mean, 65% of employees are disengaged. That costs the company 18% of their annual salary. Significant
18%.
Significant financial impact on, disengagement on businesses. Disengaged employees are less productive, they're more likely to leave, and obviously leading to what you just mentioned there, increased recruitment and training costs. You've got to start all over again. So yeah.
So 18%, right? That's, well, let's call it 20%, right? That's one day a week.
Yeah.
There's one day a week that you're kind of potentially losing from a disengaged employee because they're less productive. That's astounding.
And then a more positive stat. however. So 93%, like, yeah, extremely high percentage of employees with, high employee experience score. They actually plan to stay with their organisation for at least the next year. This
Mm.
shows that a positive employee experience really does boost retention.
Yeah.
There's key factors within that, obviously, which include supportive leadership, career development, work-life balance, recognition, and obviously an inclusive culture built
Yeah.
within your organisation. So yeah, great stats.
Okay, on to another set of stats and a lovely chart. I really like this one. So here we've got 6 metrics that are measured across 3 organizations that have got low, medium, and high employee experience scores. There's roughly speaking, a 1/3, 2/3 split in the positive responses received from low and medium employee experience scored companies. With those with a high index, they're approaching 100% there, right? With the highest stat there, we've got 94%. The lowest is 89. So we've got, really, really positive scores from those organizations that have a high employee experience index score. And those metrics kind of focus primarily around having the right information at your fingertips, along with the sufficient training to use those resources. And some of the key takeaways from this, for me, are training. Right, so right at the very top there, those with a low experience score, 29% say they've received sufficient training to be able to do their job efficiently. Medium, 67%. That's pretty good, actually. You're over 2/3 there, and that goes all the way up to 89% for those with a high experience score. So that just kind of highlights the need for good quality training, and having a good quality training platform, and making sure that people are engaged with it. It's easy to use, will benefit, and will help with your employee retention.
I think it's that. I think it's that overall onboarding, that employee onboarding experience as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, which training is a massive part of.
Yeah.
But that kind of, know who you're working with before you start is,
Yeah.
Meet the team before you even get in your seat in your office is a massive thing these days. So, yeah, the onboarding experience is absolutely crucial long term to retaining that staff, and obviously that employee experience during their time with the business is a major factor.
Yeah, absolutely. The other one is a real jump out for me is my company's IT department is focused on helping make me productive. 26%. That's the lowest stat there from those companies with a low employee experience score. 62's kind of okay, I guess. A little over half from those in medium, but all the way up to 87%. It's often the case that an IT department or an IT provider will just provide the tools and say, there you go, off you go, off you go and be productive, right? If you have an IT department or an IT partner who is focused on helping you make the most out of those tools, it makes a massive difference in terms of overall employee satisfaction and employee experience. And it's one of the things that my team focuses on is using those tools to make sure that people are productive and to make the most out of your investment.
So
And the
good
other one that
stats, but I think how do we improve that? I think that the stats are speaking for themselves. I think we've established that now. There's some pretty damning statistics there as well.
Yeah.
Reasons why, and how we can possibly improve upon them. Obviously, that employee experience. So how do we improve employee experience? So just 8 for me, Mark. So yeah, establish clear branding.
It's your area, Ian, branding.
Yeah, I know a little bit about branding. So when employees they feel connected to your brand, they're more likely to embody its values and missions in their daily work. Sounds cheesy, but it's absolutely true. And that connection that can foster kind of pride, loyalty, making employees more engaged and motivated ultimately. In addition to that, employees who believe in the brand are more likely to speak positively about the company that internal brand and external brand ambassador. Obviously that enhances the company's reputation, attracting more top talent, etc. And then, by investing in a strong employee brand, you can create a cohesive, motivated workforce that it really drives success and growth. That's what we all want.
Well, one of the companies that kind of stands out to me is Apple, right? They've got one of the strongest brands in the world, and as you know, Ian, I'm a big Apple fan. But
yeah,
by creating that, they have that really, really strong brand, both externally, we all know who Apple are, but they carry that through internally as well. And I'm sure that not everyone at Apple is, 100% on board and totally loves working there. But from what I've seen, everyone who works at Apple, or the vast majority, are totally aligned, totally connected with it. Because of that strong brand, it actually engages them, right, and encourages them to kind of work harder and deliver against that. So having that pride, you've kind of hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, and you mentioned Apple. I mean, they were actually called Apple Computer Inc. at one point. So
they were in the very early days, yeah.
Brand and logos, that kind of thing. You're talking about brand again, but that plays a massive part in things. Being called Apple, globally recognized by just the logo is a big thing. So yeah, one day we might get there with the igloo. Who knows?
It's nice and simple.
Yeah. So established purpose. That having that clear purpose helps to align everybody in your organization. Towards like your common goals, common business objectives. And when those employees understand your mission and the values of your company, they're more likely to feel connected and commit to the work. It's natural. That same sense of purpose can drive motivation, engagement. Ultimately, it leads to higher productivity and job satisfaction. In addition to that, if you set clear expectations for team members, that ensures that everybody knows their roles, responsibilities. Obviously, that reduces confusion and improves overall efficiencies, which we all love. And then being consistent in communication and reinforcing those elements, that helps you create a strong foundation for a cohesive and successful business. And opening up communication. So yeah, things like setting up anonymous feedback systems that allows employees to share their thoughts and concerns without fear of any retribution. And that helps foster a culture of openness and trust. Things like encouraging cross-functional team collaboration, that obviously enhances your communication, breaking down silos, promoting the exchange of ideas across different departments. And that not only helps in solving problems, but it also helps obviously build stronger relationships among your team members. Something we're really keen on here at Igloo, that kind of collaboration across different departments, different locations. I'm in Manchester, Mark's in London. We've got people in Australia, we have people in Kent, but we all collaborate as one team, like we're all sat in the same office, and having the right technology really enables that.
Absolutely.
But by implementing all these practices, as mentioned previously, you create an environment where employees feel heard and valued, and that obviously increases your engagement, your overall business success. And then support well-being. Again, something we're keen on here at Igloo.
A big topic over the last, particularly over the last 4 years since the pandemic, right? It's kind of been on the radar for probably 10 years, but in the last 4, it's really kind of gained some traction, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And that can be like flexible working, health programs, the actual work environment was mentioned before, ergonomic setups, that work-life balance, communication, encourage open discussions, as we mentioned previously, about well-being, and then support services, so providing access to the likes of counselling and other support programs. All these practices can help employees feel really valued and motivated. You've got to have something in place, otherwise you ultimately will get left behind.
Yeah. Right, let's move on to a demo, shall we?
Let's.
Right, let me share a different screen. Bear with me a moment. Okay, so here we have the homepage of an employee experience for a fictional company. You can see that's quite heavily branded. We've got logos everywhere. The experience has a name, which is the cog. We've got, that consistent theming. As we move throughout this experience, you'll see that branding is very strongly enforced. So everything is always consistent. It's quite common, and many companies have seen that each SharePoint site kind of looks different. It's got a different theme. When you move from one thing to the other, it doesn't feel consistent, doesn't feel connected, and it can be quite jarring. Here, everything is always aligned. It's always consistent. You can get to. I'm always a fan of, and I always say this of, you can get to everywhere from anywhere, and this kind of experience absolutely allows that. So we can see as we move down, where we've got company news that's been published here. We've got a new employee who's joined the organization that's kind of been pulled through. And we have a lot of customers who use this very, very successfully, rather than blasting out emails every so often, or collating a PDF and sending that out at the end of the month. They will just drip feed in news, and then people can kind of pick that up. It's published via Teams. This experience is available directly from within the Teams desktop, the web app, and within Teams Mobile. And those news notifications come to you directly, so you can kind of pick them up wherever you are, enforcing that work from anywhere kind of mentality. And as I scroll down, I love this bit. This is where we got some personalization coming in. So we talked about engagement, and in large organizations or in very busy organizations, or those that have people with very kind of diverse roles, there can be too much information, right? The amount of information that we receive on a daily basis is kind of staggering, whether that's from email, from Teams messages, in your own personal life, from news websites, from social media. We're bombarded constantly. But this section that allows you to kind of tailor and filter data for the specific audience. So this can be by geography. We have several customers who use this very, very successfully, for employees who are in different geographical locations. So news that is relevant to them in their local area is kind of pushed to them, just to kind of filter out some of the noise that's available. And then any resource links that are required either by geography or by people's departments can be targeted there as well. So here I'm logged in. I've got access to a marketing dashboard. I've got access to the R&D department, the internal projects team. One of my colleagues who has a slightly different role may have different information, and having that personalization really does make this feel like your own experience and makes it feel a lot more engaging. I'm just going to browse up to the top here, and you can see we've got navigation across the whole of the experience. And this allows me, as I said earlier, to get to everywhere from anywhere. I'm just going to dive into our employee hub. You can see consistent branding everywhere we go. We've got this nice dark green theme. Everything kind of looks consistent. And when we were talking about establishing purpose, Ian, within here, we have many pieces of data in here. We've got our employee policy, we've got our benefits, we've got our well-being in here, but we've got links to our mission and culture. So all within one single location. As an employee, I can understand everything about my organization, what our mission is, what our culture is, what our 5-year plan is, how that's gonna run in the future. And then we've got the have your say. You talked about having feedback. So embedded directly within here, I have a form that I can fill out. What's your idea? So I'm gonna fill this out, and we'll see what happens. I'm gonna say, please organize a well-being week for all employees. It will benefit everyone. And if I wish to, I can remain anonymous, but I'm just going to submit that. So that's kind of been submitted, and the relevant team will pick that up. I'm just going to jump over to Teams here. And you'll see I'm in the Teams web app here, but the experience is the same within the desktop app, and is very similar within mobile. I've got full access to my employee experience directly from within Teams. But I'm just going to jump over to Teams itself. Got my internal projects team here. I can see my general channel is lit up because I've received a message. And we can see there's that message that I submitted, that one of the employees submitted saying, I would like a wellbeing week to be organized who will benefit everyone. So it's that integration of SharePoint to Teams, and it's bringing the information to people, where they're actually working. So this team who's responsible for monitoring that is receiving that information directly as soon as it's submitted, saying, look, an idea has been submitted. They can then jump on that and then perhaps take action. So if I jump back to my employee hub, let's take a look at well-being. And here we've got all of the well-being initiatives that are available across this organization. It's all neatly presented here. And you can see, based on the feedback, you can see I prepared this earlier. We actually have a wellbeing week that's coming up, and that's been planned. I can click through into that event. I can learn more. I can add it to the calendar. So it's kind of closing the circle on that whole experience. Just going to switch back to the deck. Okay. Next on the list, take a look at we've had a look at branding. We've had a look at all of the great stuff that Ian was talking about around the culture. Some of the other things you can do to improve your employee experience. Look at your procedures. Do you have a lot of outdated procedures which are kind of buried away within Word documents, buried away within file structures, buried away in someone's OneDrive or on a file server? Look, how are they stored? Are they stored in Word? Are they easy to get to? Are they easy to navigate? Look at bringing that process information and those procedures, bringing them up to date and bringing them into an online platform that's kind of easy to access. And when that information, all that vital information that is stored within those documents, who is updating it? When does it need to be updated? How are you tracking that? Is that been done via a spreadsheet? It's very, very common, and I've seen this a lot, where a customer will have a list of policies and procedures, for instance. They might have 20, 30, even more documents. I've seen customers with hundreds of those. And each of those documents have to be kind of looked at and amended on a regular basis. And it's usually some person's job to kind of track that in a spreadsheet to go, well, this document needs to be updated by the end of November, and this is a person responsible, and they have to chase them. And it's kind of a nightmare, really. So kind of look to modernizing all of that. And that kind of leads me nicely onto automation. Where you can automate anything, then automate. There's an old rule which says if you have to do something 3 times, then automate it. It's not a hard and fast rule. If you have to do something more than 3 times, but it takes you a minute to do, it's probably not worth automating. But there are many, many tasks out there that might involve pulling in data from a certain system, looking at it, formatting it, putting it into a PowerPoint presentation, sending out for approval, keeping track of that. Automate all of that information. Make your life easier. Focus on what's actually important for your day-to-day work, rather than just these kind of donkey work exercises. And make things user-friendly. The amount of times people say it needs to be user-friendly, it kind of goes without saying, but it is often overlooked. And by making things user-friendly, there are a lot of elements to this. There's having it branded, making it look nice is obviously important, but I always feel it's about the user journey and the steps that people take to get information. And it's about bringing the information that's relevant to people where and when they need that. And having it make sense, so it's obvious what you need to click on or where you need to go, is absolutely crucial. And that kind of user interface, user experience is really, really critical there. And I often think that a user interface is like a joke, right? If you have to explain it, then it's probably not very good.
Yeah, and I think in today's workforce, you've got generational gaps. You've got different levels of tech savviness. We have in our organisation. So
Yeah.
myself and Jason, our MD, are not tech savvy. So if we can use our solutions, well, that's always the litmus test, I guess, isn't it? So
Yeah,
yeah,
you're kind of the barometer there, aren't you?
yeah. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Mark.
Right,
So I think you've got another little demo, I think.
I do have another demo. Bear with me. All right, I'm just going to share that screen. Right, so we're back in our back in the homepage of our employee experience, and I'm going to look through our processes. So within our employee experience, we have a site that's dedicated to storing our process information. Now, as an IT company, you can imagine we have lots and lots and lots of processes, and we use exactly this. So we've got all of our information about how we run tickets, how we deploy solutions, how we raise orders, how we raise quotes. Everything that we do is stored within a solution like this, and that allows us to have a single centralized location rather than thinking, I might have to message Ian and say, Ian, where's that document about raising a sales order? And you go, oh yeah, it's here, it's in my OneDrive, or it's in this folder structure. I just know automatically that if I want to know how something's done, I go to processes, and that's kind of all here and ready for me. So if I look through in this within my navigation menu, I've got human resources as a category, for instance. If I look at my new starters process, we have a specific process for managing this. It's all presented neatly within a page. I've got this in-place navigation where I can kind of jump directly to that piece of content. So I can go, right, okay, what's the pre-employment check process? Okay, I can read up on that. Brilliant, having everything in one place. Critical thing is making sure that that is kept up to date, and we know who is actually responsible for maintaining that. So over here you can see that I'm responsible for keeping this up to date, that this is due for review on the 25th of October 2024. Well, that's great, but wouldn't it be great if I could have an automation which would kind of tell me when this is due, and it would kind of notify me and say, Mark, you need to update this? Well, guess what? We have exactly that. So I've got a process which I'm going to run now, and what it will do, it will scan through this entire site, and it will send me a message for any pieces of content that I need to kind of pay attention to. So I'm just going to run that now. Bear with me.
We should have a musical interlude, Mark.
You should. Right, let's just run. You can see my Teams has just lit up there, and I've received a message. So if I go over to my chat there, Workflows app has sent me this card. I've got a number of messages, but you can see 10:33 this morning, it sent me this information to say a process review is required. It sent me this card. It's nicely branded. It's got the image in there. It's telling me that this process is due for review within the next 30 days. It's telling me what action I need to take. I've got a link through to that so I can look at the page. Lots of different options you can have here. But if I can go in, I can decide that process is valid, it's up to date, I don't need to make any changes, or I can make those changes. I can come back here and I can click this button to say I've reviewed this process. What the automation will then do, it will update this field to a point in the future, and that's configurable. It could be 6 months, it could be a year, and then that automated process, which you'd probably run weekly, won't bother me again. So it's just, imagine you've got this in a spreadsheet and you're having to track it and say Mark needs to make sure that he updates this new starters process before the end of October 2024. You have to email Mark to say, Mark, have you done this? And you're kind of chasing it. All of that is all automated and taken care of for you. And we talked earlier as well, Ian, about having analytics and statistics around that. We do love statistics.
Yeah.
So if I go back to my processes dashboard here, Embedded directly within my site, I've got all of the information I need to tell me about my processes. So I can see who owns what processes, what categories they're in, and I can see when anything's due as well. So I've got next review dates. I can kind of track that. It's all easily accessible and available to me.
This really works, Mark, as well. I mean, we use this ourselves, don't we, here at
We do.
Igloo? So,
Yeah.
yeah, we were looking at this just yesterday. So there's a couple of processes we need to update, and there's certain people who need to update them. So yeah, it's good to keep on top of them.
I'm
And
mentioning no, I'm
kind of
mentioning no names
self-police.
here.
No.
But you will see when we come back to this page, that's been updated. So it's now been updated to the 17th of April next year. So it's added 6 months onto that. So that's taken care of, and I'll be reminded again in around 5 months when that's due for review. All taken care of and automated for me. Right, I'm just going to flip back to our slide deck. Okay, so next we got the tools and resources you need, absolutely critical. Integrate your tools. So create a centralized platform where employees can easily access all of the tools and resources they need to perform their tasks efficiently, whether that be project management software, communications apps such as Team, data analytics as well. Analytics are absolutely key. Bring those into a single platform with a single streamlined interface. It makes sense in terms of the user flow when they're using the system. They've got access to the information where and when they need it. They're not kind of having to switch to another application to look at some data, to look at some charts, bring all of that together and kind of integrate that. And then future fit as well. Yes, Ian.
I was going to say, having that kind of that one-stop shop, if you like, that kind of really ensures that all your people are on the same page. If you've got disparate applications doing different things, that becomes a model. So obviously, off the back of that, you get better collaboration, consistency across your organization. So
yeah, and making sure you've got something that's fit for the future as well. It's kind of it's always on people's mind. But having something that is kind of cloud-based, that is kind of integrated, and is constantly being updated, does make sure that everything it's always going to be fit for the future. It's constantly evolving. You can adapt it, and it does move with your needs. Training was the big one that came up earlier when we looked at those stats. Making sure that people have got access to the right information at the right time when they're onboarding, making sure they're up to speed with using any custom systems you've got, as well as using all of the tools that are available within Microsoft 365, Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive. Making those available in a kind of single, easy to use cloud-based platform that's accessible from anywhere really does help to kind of improve that overall employee experience score. Gamification, that's an interesting one. So gamification is a way of kind of bringing in competition like elements, scoreboards, points, badges, leaderboards, things like that. Say, oh look, I just completed this training course and here's my badge or here's my certificate, and having kind of friendly competition to go, hey Ian, look, I've got 5 more certificates than you. You kind of need to catch up. It's a really kind of good way to make sure that people do the training, but try and make that fun as well. And again, that's something that we use internally quite a lot. And having those leaderboards, having those statistics, having the certificates just allows us to make sure that people are doing the training when we assign it to them, and allows us to kind of chase up when they don't.
There's nothing more satisfying than getting my badge when I've completed training, Mark. I'm not going to lie.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
I'm not joking.
Right. Let me go on to our next demo. Okay. So we're back within our employee experience. I'm going to come up to the Me tab there where I've got access to my employee hub. I've also got access to my training information. So here within our training hub, we've got access to all of our training materials. This is information about Microsoft 365 applications. So we've got Teams, but it can also include anything custom, including the employee experience itself or any other custom systems which you've got. It's all available within here. If I scroll down within the page, and right on the front page, I've got access to all of my training courses. I've got the My Training page, more on that shortly. And we've got a training admin page as well, where an administrator can assign training courses to users and use metrics to track which courses have been assigned, you know, who's completed them, which ones are overdue, so they can kind of chase people as well. If I click up and look at my training, I've got all of these courses available. If I click through, I can scroll down to Microsoft Teams, and I've got pages for specific functions. I can assign this course to someone. They can look through, they can read all the information. It's got embedded videos. It's got links to curated Microsoft content around getting the best use of Teams. And all of this is kind of available when you have people join the organization, or if they just want to use this as a refresher, you can assign that training course to them. And then they can kind of pick that up, and then they will receive a certificate at the end. What I'm just going to do is go up to the My Training page. See, I've got a couple of training courses which have been assigned to me. They're due by the 25th of October. I can click through, it will take me to the page, I can read it, I can come back and then mark that as completed. Just scrolling down, I've got access to my training certificate. So this was one that was produced earlier. I've got my frequently asked questions. So everything I need to understand what training I need to complete, any questions I have, and all of my certificates are available for me directly from within this single interface. If I go back to Teams and I show this, you can see these particular training courses were assigned to me on Tuesday. I received a notification for each of those. And if I don't complete these, I will receive a notification every week. It's customizable to say, Mark, you haven't completed this training. Mark, you haven't completed this training. And it will keep badgering me until I actually complete it. So you've got that compliance there, and I'm making sure that people are actually completing the courses that you assign to them. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to just complete this course, say, yeah, I've done that. That will disappear from my view. Yeah, that's now disappeared from my view. As an admin, I can come into this experience. I can look at my training dashboard. And again, I've got all of those kind of metrics that I need are available to me right where I need them. I don't need to switch off to a separate app. So here I can look at all of the training courses which have been assigned across different users. You can see that Adele's got 6 courses assigned. Mark's got 3. I can kind of click through. I can filter these just to kind of narrow down which course people are assigned to, pick a user, see what they've got outstanding. It's all really easy to use, and it's all kind of driven from the data from directly within this site. If I go back to my training page, and just in the nick of time, I've received a notification via Teams. I completed that training course. It sent me a notification to say, congratulations on completing your training. The details are below. There's a certificate that's been generated for you, and you can access that via the My Training page. There's a link there for me.
I think, so just to point out that kind of link with Teams is massive. Whether we all like it or
absolutely.
not, you know, Teams is a behemoth. Something we probably pretty much everybody on this webinar will probably use at some point every day. But that driving them back to the training hub, to the employee experience solution from the Teams workflow, that again is massive. It kind of fosters that adoption.
Yeah, and you're right. Teams is a beast. It's a monster. It's a huge application, and it's often used just for chats and just for calls, and it's brilliant at that. I love Teams. It's great at doing meetings. It's great at that, but it really is the kind of along with SharePoint, it's the glue that kind of holds everything together. If you're sat working in Teams, you can have content pushed to you via Teams, to like we've seen in the previous demos. Oh, a survey submission has been submitted, where we saw the well-being idea, pushing those reminders into Teams to say, Mark, you need to update this process. Me being able to interact with that and say, I'm done, just doing it within Teams without going to the page and doing anything. I can review the page, say, yeah, I'm done, and it'll take care of all of that for me. The automation will update the next review date to be set in the future. That integration is absolutely key. And here we've got my training certificates. That one has just been generated, but I can click through and I have my individual branded PDF certificate, which has been generated for me. You can see when the date it was completed. It's got the CEO signature on it. Gamification. And you can have leaderboards, you can have badges to say, isn't Ian great? Ian just completed yet another Teams course and he's 3 points ahead of Mark. A really good way, a really good way to kind of generate healthy competition and keep people engaged within your training platform. Right, let me switch back to the deck.
I think we've got a little gap here for some questions if anybody wants to raise any. We've had a couple in the meantime while we've been talking, Mark. Dave was asking where the stats were pulled from. They were like a major Forrester report, and that we actually, we can run through the likes of Copilot, can't we, Mark? Talk about another webinar we did previously all about Microsoft Copilot, but we get these huge reports and we can put that through Copilot these days, and it summarizes everything for you, which is just marvelous. But they were pulled from a Forrester report, and then also I think it was Millicent. She was asking if we could. So when you're having the notifications going out, whether you were able to immediately respond to the staff and confirm receipt and give feedback as to what an action may be off the back of it. So, and the answer is yes. So yeah, and at this stage,
you can kind of build those. You can build those in, so you can say yes, you must click to say you've received the action, or you can kind of build automations to do.
Yeah, it's probably worth pointing
many functions.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably worth pointing out that obviously we've shown a demo version of it, and everybody's going to be different. Everybody's going to have different flows and processes, so it's completely tailored to what you need. And obviously the branding and the colorways and the imagery that we've shown is our demo environment, but that will meet and suit your requirements as a customer. So
it's a real demonstration of the art of the possible. Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
No, not at this stage, which to me means we've explained everything succinctly, fluently, and amazingly.
Absolutely.
Probably move on to key takeaways. I'm just conscious of time and everybody else's. Key takeaways for me, obviously, we've seen the PowerX employee experience solutions. They significantly enhance employee engagement and satisfaction. By improving that overall work environment and addressing your employee needs, these solutions can lead to a more motivated, productive, and content workforce, which ultimately benefits in your business performance and your staff retention rates. Enhanced efficiencies. Easy for me to say. Streamlined workflows. They lead to enhanced efficiencies, increased productivity. This means that by optimizing all your processes, your business can achieve better performance and output. Ultimately, simple as. And then you've got your improved staff retention. So higher employee loyalty, will ultimately lead to that staff retention and reduced turnover. That means that when your employees are more committed to an organization, they're less likely to leave, which helps maintain a stable and experienced workforce. And then you've got optimized business processes. So, by refining workflows and systems, your business can achieve better performance and productivity. It does what it says on the tin, really. And then internal branding.
And really, I think the key thing about that business process automation is move all of those little nitty-gritty donkey work things that people have to perform on a daily basis. move it into automation, allow people to focus on actually delivering value rather than perhaps moving one thing from here to there or chasing up someone up to say, have you done this? This is due for renewal. Automate everything, automate as much as you can and allow people to kind of focus on what they should be doing, which is actually delivering value for your business, not necessarily pushing data around.
Yeah, something as simple as if you're still doing an expenses process by a spreadsheet or on email, then time to change that, I think.
Absolutely.
And then finally, that internal branding, you get your cohesive, positive company culture. That means, you're fostering a strong internal brand. A business can then create a unified, supportive work environment that ultimately enhances your employee morale and engagement.
Yeah.
And
we have the case in point, Ian, with Igloo. I talked about Apple, but talk about Igloo, our branded sweatshirts, our branded, our own employee experience is consistently branded. If any of you are on calls with us, we all have individual teams backgrounds with our job titles on in different colors that we can use. It's just all about carrying that branding through, and it all kind of adds up into that kind of coherent, positive employee experience, whether that's culture, whether it's systems, or it spans across all. Branding is often overlooked and criminally so, in my opinion. And I know, Ian, as a marketing person, you feel the same.
So yeah, it's hopefully this has been useful. So what's the next steps, Mark, I guess?
Okay, so if you are interested in talking to us further about that, you can scan that QR code and complete the form, and then someone from the team will be in touch for a no obligation chat. And you could be up and running with an amazing, fully tailored employee experience solution within 4 to 6 weeks. Terms and conditions apply. But yeah, if you Ian, you're going to send this out. If anyone wants to scan that QR code now, but Ian will be sending that out, and we'll put the link directly to the form in there as well. Fill out the form, and we will be in touch.
Yeah. I've got a last question from Dave. I'll respond to you when the webinar's ended, Dave, if that's okay. Me and Mark will come back to you on that one. But yeah, thanks again for your time. Hopefully it's been useful and insightful. Thanks again.
Thank you for your time, everyone. Enjoy your day.